Hello, my name is Matthew and I'm running to be one of your Greenwich Students' Union full-time officers. I've been a student at university for 3 years now, and in that time I've noticed a lot of things that could be different and changed. As your full-time officer, I want to make a real impact. My first 2 years at university were spent living at Avery Hill, and in that time frame I noticed a lot of things that could be different. There aren't enough resources there for the students, particularly nursing students who spend most of the time on the campus, and ever since Sparrow's shut there's been a real drought of social facilities as well. As your full-time officer, I'd love to put some new computers in with better software so that games designers, software designers and animators can do things like modelling, design and all sorts that they need to do without having to trek all the way to Greenwich. I'd also like to put better equipment in for nurses, like oxygen on the walls and dummies and mannequins that can respond to certain inputs and talk to you. Throughout this year, I've been quite firm on the NUS and taken a firm stance against their policies and financial disparity. Last year, the NUS racked up losses of £5.4 million. It's a looming financial disaster which has been completely overlooked by the Students' Union here for years. As your full-time officer, I want to take a serious look at the NUS, consider its financial benefits versus costs, and potentially look at the options, including leaving the NUS. We need to be serious on this issue. It's predicted by both the Independent newspaper and Guido Fawkes news website that the NUS will go bust in 2019. That cannot be allowed and should not be allowed to affect students here at the University of Greenwich. This is all costing the Students' Union here at Greenwich about £50,000 a year, I'm told, which is, in my opinion, too much, which is why I'd like to again look seriously at whether that financial cost is worth the benefits we gain. As a child, I was always taught by my parents that hard work would pay off, and I think that should be the case at the Students' Union as well. That's why I support raising the wages of all non-voluntary, part-time Greenwich Students' Union staff to the living wage of about £9 an hour. Now, I'm not in a position to say whether that's financially viable right now, but believe me, I will support it. My family are not in a position where they can afford to send me large sums of money to help me through university, and that's why since I started I've been working part-time jobs at Sparrow's Bar, the Lower Deck and the John Smith's bookstore. I know what it's like to be a student who has to work whilst they're studying. I know how hard it can be, and that's why I want to raise the wages of students who work at the union. They should be the best jobs in town. And finally, I really want to do a winter ball here at Greenwich. We've got some of the best architecture in the entire city of London. Okay, Q&A time, ladies and gentlemen. What have we got? We've got, how do you see the voted student priorities tying in with your manifesto? It's important to remember, I think, right now that I'm also a student. And so I share the concerns of the student population, and I think the thing that's been bothering me the most whilst I've been at the university is that the Students' Union simply isn't relevant enough in many cases to warrant, participating in the elections. We've got quite a low turnout rate. I think only about 1,000 or so people voted, or more than 1,000, but we get quite a low turnout. And so I think by implementing the policies like lobbying hard for stuff at Avery Hill, and being serious on the NUS, we need to, not enlarge the scope of the Students' Union, but make it more relevant to the everyday lives of students. And I think by carrying out those policies, we really can do that and make it more important that students really pay attention to what's happening at the Students' Union. Next one. Oh, that was tricky. Many candidates promise so much once they get into a high position. Do you have a plan to achieve these points? It's very hard as a candidate to really say how these things are going to fit in, because you get all the training and experience after the fact and after the election and after you get put into place. So whilst I can't say with any certainty, for instance, that I can get the wages risen. I can't say with any certainty that I can get the equipment at Avery Hill. I can't say with any certainty that I will be able to do much with regards to the NUS, and I can't say with any certainty that I'll get the winter ball done. But as a representative, or at the Students' Union, as your full-time officer, you can be sure I will damn well work hard to get them through, because I really do care about these things. I lived at Avery Hill for 2 years and I've seen just how little there is there for students, particularly on Southwood site. Now that we know that mansions being sold, there should be more on Southwood site. And so yes, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I'm not in a position to promise things, but I will work really bloody hard for them, and that's all I can say.